Hello, Radiant Leo, welcome home. This is not just a horoscope. This is a message from the universe, tailored precisely for you, delivered at the exact moment your soul is ready to receive it. You didn't stumble onto this video by accident. Something in your energy pulled it toward you. And if you're here, Leo, I promise, a beautiful surprise is already in motion. Pause for a moment. Have you felt it too? That soft rumble beneath the surface, the quiet but persistent sense that something is shifting, that something long awaited is approaching? You don't have to explain it to anyone, but you know it. There's an intuitive whisper that's been rising inside you. Maybe you couldn't name it. But deep down, you feel it. Your next chapter is arriving, powerfully, unexpectedly, and beautifully. The universe doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It delivers the moment that readies you. So let me ask you this. What if the opportunity you've been dreaming about isn't somewhere far away, but closer than you think? What if the thing you've been waiting for is already waiting for you? You just need to step into alignment. In this reading, we're going to uncover exactly what this energetic shift means for you, in your love life, your career, your sense of purpose, and your power to manifest wealth, love, and joy on your own terms. But first, let's tune in. Have you been seeing repeating numbers lately? 333, 888, 1010, maybe even 1717. Those aren't coincidences. They're confirmation codes. Little nudges from spirit. And if you've seen them, Leo, drop your angel number in the comments below to affirm it. And now, allow me a moment to say thank you. Your presence here means more than you know. Every like, every comment, every subscription connects you deeper into the heart of eternal mindfulness. You are the reason this channel continues to grow, and your support helps these soul-guided messages reach those who truly need them. From my heart to yours, thank you for being here. And trust me when I say, you'll want to stay with me all the way to the end of this video, because what the universe is revealing for you today is nothing short of magnificent. So now tell me, Leo, what kind of magnetic force pulled you here today? Was it a feeling you couldn't shake, or a sign too strong to ignore? Either way, I believe it's because something beautiful, beyond what you expected, is trying to enter your life. Let's open the door together. You may not realize it just yet, Leo, but something within you has already shifted, and it didn't ask for anyone's permission. It didn't wait for approval. It simply rose, like the quiet unfolding of dawn before anyone's eyes could adjust. This kind of change rarely announces itself with drama or clarity. Instead, it hums beneath the surface, soft but persistent, nudging you to let go of stories you've outgrown, roles you no longer belong to, and energies that have served their time. If you felt disconnected lately, or even strangely neutral toward things that used to excite or trigger you, it's not a sign that something's wrong. It's a sign that your internal compass has begun to realign. The path that once seemed so obvious is now just familiar, not fulfilling. That's not failure. That's the whisper of expansion. And yes, it can feel unsettling, even lonely. Because part of healing, part of real inner evolution, is realizing that some relationships or spaces you once fit so perfectly into were never meant to carry the next version of you. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are simply in between the inhale and the exhale, between the version of you that once was, and the one that's waiting just ahead. The people who feel distant now, the dreams that seem to fade into fog, the sudden awareness of emotional weight you can no longer carry, all of these are messengers, quietly reminding you that transformation rarely feels like a celebration. It feels like release. The World card in Tarot carries this exact vibration, the sense of sacred completion. It doesn't ask you to rebuild the ruins of what's falling away. It invites you to honor the cycle that has closed, without judgment, without resistance. Just as the tree doesn't mourn the falling of its leaves, but trusts that what must be let go will nourish the soil beneath it, so too are you being asked to surrender what no longer serves your becoming. Sometimes we confuse peace with comfort. But real peace isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it comes disguised as silence, as an empty room, as a quiet afternoon where the phone doesn't ring and the world forgets your name for a moment. And yet, it is in those very spaces that you meet yourself more fully. You begin to hear the truth without distraction. You begin to feel what your heart has been trying to tell you all along. In traditions of inner stillness, there is a truth often spoken without words. When you stop clinging to identity, belonging finds you. When you stop trying to become someone for others, your truest self arrives. You're not being asked to rush, to decide, or to declare anything. You're only being asked to witness your own becoming. To notice the subtle shift inside when you no longer react the same way, when the past no longer holds power, when your boundaries are no longer up for debate. This is the work of the soul, subtle, sacred, often invisible to the outside world. But you feel it. You feel it when old emotions arise only to dissolve without a fight. You feel it when you look at someone you once chased, and realize you no longer need them to see you in order to feel whole. You feel it when the silence no longer feels like emptiness, but like space. So, if it seems like things are unraveling, if it feels like you're shedding more than you're gaining, remember this: you're not falling apart. You're being rearranged. And what comes after this is never less than what came before. It is always more aligned, more truthful, more yours. And now, as the quiet shift within you begins to take root, your next invitation is not to do more, but to care more, beginning with yourself. When inner transformation is underway, the body becomes the mirror that reflects what the soul is processing. That's why now, more than ever, your nervous system is asking for gentleness, your heart is craving quiet rhythms, and your mind is yearning for simplicity. The paradox of this moment is that receiving the beauty the universe is preparing for you has nothing to do with striving. It begins by softening. You might notice subtle signals: tension that lingers longer than usual, a foggy mind despite restful sleep, or even an unfamiliar impatience with people or tasks that once felt neutral. These aren't signs that you're failing, they're signals that you're processing more than usual. Your energy is recalibrating, not breaking down. Just as a forest goes silent before rain, your being is pausing in preparation for what's about to blossom. It's in this stillness that your real work begins, nurturing the vessel that holds your light. Simple, consistent care is the path forward now. Warm water in the morning instead of cold distractions. A handful of magnesium or zinc-rich foods rather than over-processed comforts. A 5-minute meditation where you don't seek answers, but allow the breath to simply remind you that you're here. These are not grand acts, but their energy is pure. And in the language of the universe, purity of presence holds more power than forceful ambition. The Queen of Pentacles appears at this exact junction not to remind you to hustle, but to guide you back to grounded care. She embodies the truth that prosperity flows best through well-tended soil. When your body is honored, when your rest is protected, when your inner world is not neglected, you become magnetic without effort. This is not indulgence. This is wisdom. Because only when you're nourished can you receive the nourishment life longs to give you. Caring for yourself also means noticing what drains you, not just physically, but emotionally. It may be time to gently unfollow the voices online that feed your doubt more than your clarity. It may be time to allow certain conversations to expire, not with resentment, but with reverence. You are not rejecting anyone, you are choosing presence over performance. There is nothing spiritual about sacrificing your sanity for the sake of appearing strong. True balance comes not from pushing forward at all costs, but from knowing when to pause, reset, and let go. One of the most powerful practices you can adopt during this period is the act of gratitude, not as a checklist, but as an anchor. At night, before your mind slips into rest, write down 3 things you're thankful for, not because everything is perfect, but because even within the mess, some part of you chose to notice the light. Over time, those moments will grow in weight and meaning. They are the quiet proof that your life is already abundant in places your old self may have overlooked. In teachings of inner liberation, there is a simple truth: clarity arises not by controlling everything around you, but by purifying what's within you. When your breath slows, your vision clears. When your intake of words, foods, and emotions is clean, your discernment sharpens. The universe doesn't need you to be more impressive. It simply needs you to be present, so you can fully meet the miracle it's been preparing on your behalf. So start with small kindnesses toward yourself. Drink water like it's sacred. Eat like your future depends on your strength. Rest like you are worthy of peace without proving anything. Because you are. And the more you treat yourself with that kind of reverence, the more life will respond in kind. The moment you begin to care for yourself more intentionally, body, breath, and thought, something begins to shift not only within but around you. Energy clears. Space opens. And into that space, opportunity flows. This isn't a theory, it's a natural response. Just as the earth bears fruit when it's nurtured with care, your reality responds when your presence becomes steady and open. That's why now, as you find your rhythm again, the current of prosperity is starting to move toward you, subtly but surely. You may receive a message soon, an unexpected conversation, a casual suggestion, or a seemingly small invitation that opens the door to something bigger than it looks. Stay alert. Not with anxious anticipation, but with quiet readiness. There are moments that look ordinary until you look back and realize they changed your entire path. Leo, your charisma, creativity, and resilience are working behind the scenes. People notice, even when they don't say it. The energy you've been putting out, whether through your craft, your ideas, or your courage, is now preparing to return to you, and in ways you couldn't predict. The presence of the Ace of Wands signals a spark, a beginning rooted in inspiration. This is the energy of fresh starts that carry long-term impact, business ideas, collaborative projects, content you've been meaning to share, or a service you've been quietly perfecting. But inspiration without action is just a wish. The Seven of Pentacles comes alongside to remind you that seeds don't sprout overnight. They grow slowly beneath the surface, absorbing light, holding their own private conversation with the soil before breaking through. Your efforts, especially those you feared had gone unnoticed, are maturing. Something you started weeks or even months ago is coming alive again, but only if you give it space to bloom. This isn't about chasing success. It's about aligning with it. Let your energy lead. Send that email you've been rewriting in your head. Publish that offer. Submit that proposal. Return to that unfinished plan. Take one bold action toward a goal that scares you just enough to feel exciting. Not because the outcome is guaranteed, but because boldness itself reshapes your field. When you act without clinging to the result, you activate movement. And in movement, abundance flows. There's a quiet teaching in the discipline of mindfulness. When the mind is still and the heart is open, you begin to see what was always available. Not by force. Not through manipulation. But through clarity. In that clarity, you realize that money is not something to chase. It is energy, and energy is attracted to flow. It resists desperation. It responds to focus. The more you show up without self-sabotage, without hesitation, the more life meets you with what you're truly ready to receive. Colors carry frequency, too. Gold, bronze, and forest green vibrate at the level of maturity, leadership, and steady growth. These are not colors of fast wins or temporary highs. They are the colors of deep roots and earned stability. If you feel drawn to wear them, work with them, or simply visualize them around you this week, take that as a sign that you are anchoring into sustainable abundance. These aren't lucky charms. They're visual cues that align your field to what you already carry within. And if you keep seeing certain numbers, 1, 10, 17, 19, or 33, pause and whisper to yourself, I receive. That moment of conscious acknowledgement isn't superstition. It's presence. It's a way of anchoring your awareness to the now, and recognizing that life is always communicating in gentle echoes. When you say yes, you shift the current. There is no need to strive for what's already seeking you. Just show up with clarity, integrity, and courage. The rest will unfold as it always does, on time. When you begin aligning with your own truth, through caring for your body, clearing your energy, and taking steps toward purposeful work, something remarkable happens in your emotional world as well. You start to realize that the love you've been searching for outside yourself is most magnetic when it begins from within. And in that moment, your relationships begin to mirror back a deeper honesty. Not everyone will remain. Not every bond will stretch to meet your growth. But what stays, what shows up now, has the potential to feel more real than anything before. Love, when it's not rooted in pretense, becomes a reflection of clarity. If you're in a relationship now, you may feel this quiet pull, a call to redefine the dynamics between you and the one you share your life with. Perhaps there's more space, more silence, or more awareness of the differences between your inner rhythms. This doesn't mean something is wrong. It means you're both evolving. What used to feel safe might now feel too small. What once passed without notice might now feel like a compromise too large to keep making. The truth is, healthy love doesn't ask you to shrink. It doesn't reward emotional invisibility. And it certainly doesn't survive by scripting your feelings to please someone else. Relationships aren't meant to complete you. They're meant to reflect how fully you've allowed yourself to be seen. If you feel like you're pretending, or performing, for connection, pause. Not to blame, but to reflect. The Knight of Swords reminds us that rushing through discomfort only delays the growth that discomfort was sent to bring. And the Two of Pentacles asks you to balance your truth and your tenderness, your needs and your willingness to listen. It's not about control. It's about presence. And presence, in its purest form, allows two people to stand side by side without needing to become less of themselves for the other to feel loved. For those of you who are single or stepping back from a recent entanglement, this phase may bring someone new into your awareness, but don't confuse intensity with alignment. Sometimes, the energy that draws us in quickly is the very energy that tests our clarity the most. Ask yourself, am I being loved for my presence, or for my potential? Am I being pursued, or am I being understood? These are gentle but powerful questions that clear away the fog of attraction and illuminate the core of compatibility. A true connection won't demand you to dim. It won't mistake your silence for obedience. And it will never make you question your worth. One simple practice that can help realign your emotional landscape is this: write down one pattern in love you're ready to release, something you've repeated, forgiven, or tolerated out of fear rather than truth. Then, write 3 things you want to feel in your next chapter of love, whether with a new partner or within yourself. Choose words that make you feel expansive, not small. Let this act become a small ritual of emotional clarity. And if you're someone who visualizes easily, try this. Imagine yourself in a relationship where you feel deeply safe, effortlessly real, and joyfully seen. Picture the silence being just as nourishing as conversation. See yourself waking up each day knowing you don't have to earn love, you simply allow it. That image, held with gentle focus, begins to rewire what you accept, what you attract, and what you no longer settle for. Real love, the kind that liberates instead of binds, will not require you to be anyone but who you truly are. It may challenge you, yes. But it will also grow with you, speak truthfully, and hold space when the world feels too loud. Let that be your compass. Let that be the standard. You are not here to perform. You are here to connect, fully and honestly. When the heart begins to soften and the mind grows still, what often arises next is a quiet but firm sense of readiness. Not readiness to act impulsively or to force an outcome, but readiness to take responsibility for the life that's unfolding. After all the internal reflection, the emotional release, the physical rebalancing, and the deep inquiry into love and worth, there comes a point where the question shifts from, what am I healing, to, what am I building now? This is where we meet the energy of the Emperor. This card doesn't appear to intimidate or control. Its presence signals a time when softness must meet structure. It's an invitation, not to dominate your life with rigidity, but to stand up for it with clarity. And for Leo especially, this is a natural next step. You are a sign of radiant visibility, but true visibility only has meaning when you are willing to direct your light with purpose. What you're being asked to do now isn't loud, but it is powerful. Choose. Choose your direction. Choose your standards. Choose the version of you that you want to lead with, not because anyone else expects it, but because a life lived unconsciously is a life easily lost to drift. There's a quiet principle of awareness that teaches, when you do not decide, you still decide. Inaction is itself a direction. And often, that direction leads back into the familiar discomforts you've already outgrown. Clarity doesn't always arrive with fanfare. It often emerges through small, repeated truths. The ones that rise again and again when you sit with yourself. The ones you try to ignore but can feel pulsing beneath every half yes and delayed no. So the path now isn't about knowing everything. It's about being honest enough to stop waiting for certainty, and brave enough to move with what clarity you already have. One practice that helps bring shape to this stage is the act of reflection through conscious mapping. Draw a simple energy wheel, divided into key areas: career, health, relationships, finances, rest. Assign each area a score from 1 to 10, not to judge yourself, but to witness your current alignment. Then gently choose one intention that would lift each area by 2 points over the next 7 days. Not with perfection. Not with pressure. But with presence. This small act shifts the narrative from, "What's wrong with me?" to, "What's ready to grow in me?" Sometimes we think that taking control means doing more, but often, it means doing less with greater attention. Declining what no longer fits. Following through on what does. Saying yes only when it's whole. The Emperor reminds us that internal peace is not about retreat, it's about order. It's about cultivating the kind of discipline that protects your energy, clarifies your time, and filters your priorities through your values. You are not meant to carry everything, Leo. You are meant to carry what is aligned, and release what distracts you from your center. Leadership, after all, is not about authority, it's about alignment. When your actions reflect your deeper values, the world begins to respond to you differently. Doors open. Conversations change. The future doesn't seem so far away, because you are already embodying the mindset of someone who belongs to it. And what grows from this space is not just success, it's stability. A life that reflects your truth from the inside out. A rhythm that feels like yours, not borrowed from someone else's idea of should. This chapter asks not for more effort, but for intentional movement. For you to stop shrinking around indecision. For you to remember that your energy is not random, it's sacred. And the more you move in ways that respect that truth, the more powerfully the road ahead will begin to respond. Take a moment and breathe with me, Leo. Imagine yourself not as someone waiting at the edge of change, but as the one shaping it with every thought, every choice, every act of quiet courage you've made, even when no one was watching. The beautiful surprise arriving in your life right now isn't a stroke of luck or a random miracle, it's the natural echo of your resilience, your inner work, and your decision to keep rising when it would have been easier to shrink. You see, the universe isn't rewarding you for being perfect, it's responding to your alignment. Every moment you chose healing over blame, clarity over chaos, authenticity over approval, you opened the door a little wider for life to meet you where your soul has already gone. And now, it's catching up. You are not behind. You are right on time. The energy of May 3rd carries a rare opening, one that asks you not to hope for magic, but to become it. Not because you're trying to prove anything, but because you're finally ready to honor everything you already are. And maybe, for the first time in a long time, you can sense it. That you're not the person who needs fixing, you're the one who's finally remembering how whole you've always been. So I ask you now, gently and clearly, what are you ready to walk away from today? Not out of anger, but out of peace. What dream is waiting for you to believe in it just enough to take the first step again? What version of yourself is waiting, not for permission, but for your presence? Because the truth is, you don't need to chase love, or wealth, or recognition. You need only to embody the energy of someone who is already enough. And when you do, life will match that energy in return. With more ease. With more clarity. With more joy than your old self could have imagined. If this message has touched something in you, I invite you to share a sign, drop a comment below with the angel number you've been seeing, or simply write, "I'm ready." Not for my sake, but as an act of commitment to yourself. Let that be your declaration, your gentle agreement with the path ahead. And if you feel that this message was meant for you, if you felt the truth of it land in your body, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. Your support keeps these words moving through the collective, reaching the hearts that need them most. You are a part of this constellation now, a soul shining through the eternal mindfulness family. Leo, you were never meant to wait at the edge of your life hoping something will change. You are the change. You are the light. And the surprise coming your way isn't here to shock you, it's here to reflect who you've become. So ask yourself, one last time. What would happen if you stopped waiting, and started receiving? Because you don't need a miracle to become extraordinary. You just need to remember that you already are.